Things were working. All right. Is the sound working? Things were working. Yes, it is. And then let's go to here. Is it working on the X? It seems like it is. Perfect. Okay. I think we're good. All right, I see some people in the chat already. Hello, welcome. Gonza, Ball Static, Old Biker, and Gonza again. Yeah. What's up? What's up? How you guys doing? Um, so we're gonna talk about a lot of stuff all over the place today. But I wanted to make a stream right now, simply because the price action that I think will happen over the next like 2-ish weeks was worth it for me to make a stream. Big thing up front. I thought today was going to be a bull flag, and it looks like a limp flag. So I don't know what's wrong. We could possibly be just very close to OPEX, where that is taking precedence over the emoji timeline. I don't know. There was a lot of reasons for today to be bullish. So I don't know. We'll see how the day ends. But as of right now, this is not what I expected for the most part. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. But welcome everybody. Just so you guys are aware as well, my internet seems to be a little wonky today. So if I cut out, I apologize. Obviously, I'll try to get it back, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Okay. So this is the table of contents that we're going to be, all the topics that we're going to be talking about today. First section is going to be price analysis. You'll be able to see it on the left side. So basically, if you want to, like, if any of these specific topics is of interest to you and you don't care about the rest, you can just try to find that timestamp within like the greater thing. Because I know that for me, when I watch a lot of people who are streaming, especially if they're streaming daily, you have to like really like fast forward through the whole thing to find the part that you really want. Because for me, I don't really care about GameStop, really. I don't really care. But other people will talk about other stocks as well, and I'm just like, get to the GameStop part. So I try to make it as organized for you guys as possible because I really value your time on the other side of this. Yeah, but price analysis, like what's moving the prices and everything like that. And then the actual price predictions itself. And then my prediction for the M&A timeline and Teddy, and then Project Sling. And then we're going to talk about the earnings a little bit. I don't have too much to say about that because I'm not like really, that's not my expertise, like those numbers and stuff. And a lot of smarter people have talked about it enough. So I hope that you have gotten that stuff. And then future topics. I'm not going to talk about MOASS that much today, but I will go into it in depth. I'm working on a bigger video that kind of lays out the whole big thesis. Because after this summer ends, shit's about to get wild again. Kind of in the same vein that 2024 was. So just be ready for that. And then last thing was Kevin Gill. Oh, and Roaring Kitty hacked. I do want to talk about those two things eventually in a future one, even though they've happened like in the past. But yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyway, oh, this is a meme for you guys. If I'm to have a symbol, it shall be one I respect. And the power symbol, and oh man, I fucking love this meme. But starting off, back on 420, I said that objects in mirror are closer than they appear, $30. And then about like 10 days after that, or like 12 days after that, we hit it in overnight trading when the M&A stuff originally got released. This did happen right at like 8 p.m. at overnight trading, and overnight trading more or less is like scam hours. So while I was technically correct that we hit 30, it wasn't any kind of like practical hitting 30, because to hit it practically, you'd have to get that during, at the very least, like pre-market where we can actually trade. But hopefully the good one that actually means that it hit will have been during market hours themselves. And that did not happen. So technically I was correct, but practically I was not correct. And then I wanted to go into what I'm calling the ABC, the annual Boomie cycle. I've talked about this extensively in my old streams, basically stating that May and December are the two Boomie months out of the entire year. Those are the months where there's just a lot of action happening during that time that kind of forces the year to like reshuffle itself. And so we have just seen historically over the last couple of years now, pretty much like dating back to the sneeze and before, that May and December are just the peaks of the annual Boomie cycle. And then on the opposite side of that, March and August are the volatility dead zones. So if May and December, hold on, if May and December are the peaks, then March and August are the like the bottoms. And we've just seen that over and over and over again as well. But the reason that this works, the thing that sets off the annual Boomie cycle, that chain of events, is always January OPEX. Those FTDs always ignite the rest of the annual Boomie cycles going forward, because more or less January always ends up being a red month. And as of right now, I think it has a huge part to do with leaps, because that month in particular has January, and the leaps, they do something weird that they don't do in any other month. I know that there's also June leaps that come out, but for some reason January in specific, they just, I mean, June is also a downy month as well. So yeah, you know what? Yeah, because they're right after the May and December. Yeah, June and January. Hmm, interesting. And another thing I wanted to talk about, uh, the reset button. I've spoken about this a little bit before. Basically, it's when a big de-risking slash de-leveraging event happens. Basically, something hits the news, some kind of news event that basically says, oh, this is like really bullish right now. Some examples I could think about: when the White House was tweeting about GameStop, that was the weekend right before October 27th, 2025. And then another one was when Dr. Burry said that he bought a stake in GameStop, and that was January 26th, a couple of days after Ryan Cohen bought. And then another one was 2-2. I forget what that it like basically was. I think it has something to do with the FTD timeline a couple of days after Dr. Burry's buy. But then also earnings releases is a reset event, and then 5-1, the day that the M&A was like basically brought in. These dates all had extremely bullish action that basically, to me, it kind of becomes like a reset button where basically whatever risk they have on the books, their computers will reanalyze it based off of this new information, based off this new news event. They reanalyze their risk profile and their risk tolerance, and basically they're like, okay, we can't let this get out of hand, so we have to close these out. And then that's why you see basically really big uppies in a very short amount of time, and then eventually the stock comes down again. Basically, I'm calling it a reset button because that's what I feel like gets pushed whenever these news events happen. And when it comes to my emoji timeline research, this reset button is probably the most difficult thing to account for in moving forward whenever it happens. Because on all of these dates, we had massively fucking bullish action. And when this happens to a greater effect than what I was expecting on those days, it makes me think, oh, did a reset button get pushed? Because if it did get pushed, then that means moving forward, the future pumps aren't going to be as high. And so that makes it harder then to kind of estimate where we're going to go from there. When I'm doing my emoji timeline research, the information that it gives me is not necessarily what price it's going to be at, more so when is there going to be high pressure and when are we expected to have like negative pressure, like to the downside or something like that. That's kind of what it gives me a good indicator on. But then obviously it's not perfect because I mean today I thought that we were going to at least close green. So we have to close above 21.77, which we're 4 cents away from there. So we could very well close green within the next like 27 minutes ish. That could happen. Will it be a bull flag? It looks more like a pendant right now, or at least like a falling wedge. Falling wedge would look like this. Yeah, it would look something little like that. Which, I mean, I'll get into what I think will happen over the next couple of days once we get to that portion, but it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. Because today wasn't massively bullish, it kind of puts me at a place where I'm like, all right, we got to recalibrate a little bit. And it could be because a reset button was pushed a couple of days ago. Because I think, was it 6-8? Yeah, I think it was 6-8 in after hours right here. That was the day that they released their earnings report. And then we got the 10Q, I think like right here or something like that. Maybe the 11th or 12th. I forget which day. But this day right here, the 8th, when they released the news of the earnings report, I think that might have been a reset button. Yeah. But, I don't know. There's a lot of speculation. Yeah, but that's basically my reset button, which I'm sure I'll get into even more later on. Let's go into this real quick. The $3 overnight orders, because I don't know how many people have talked about it that much. I know that other people have talked about it in the past, but recently there have been a lot of them happening. So I'm getting this off of Thinkorswim from the Schwab, formerly TD Ameritrade. But basically, this morning we had one at 307, 612 last Friday. We had one at 31, 67. We had one at 325, 527. Basically, there's been a lot of them since basically the end of April, like April 30th, going into now. There have been a lot of them happening. My current assessment of this now, I don't know much about swaps. Excuse me. I don't know much about swaps. That's not my expertise. But if I had to guess what these $3 overnight orders are, I would say that they are probably some kind of remnant, some kind of like smoking gun that a large swap was rolled or opened or closed or something like that. That'd be my guess. So whoever's been saying that there's probably a lot of swaps coming in May and then right now June as well, uh, these overnight orders seem like that's probably what it is. That'd be my guess anyway. Um, yeah, but that was what I wanted to get into them. I just think they're remnants of swaps, but they took a big hiatus from 2/2, February 2nd, and then they came back again on 4/30th. Yeah, which is an interesting time because that was basically right before all this M&A stuff started. So one could argue, if Ryan Cohen is so aware of the cycles and whatnot, did he purposely plan for the M&A news, which pumped us to $30? Did he time that specifically to coincide with the overnight swaps that may or may not be happening? I don't know. I don't know. And then also, I know a lot of people have been talking about fractals and whatnot, and I have a lot of thoughts about fractals. I incorporate fractals into my own thing a little bit, but let's just make this bigger for you guys so you can see. Now, this is not to spread hate or anything, but this is just the criticisms of the fractal research that I see a lot. For fractals, I see too many people using them to try and guess day-to-day price movements. And in my opinion, when using fractals, they are only helpful if you are looking at overarching movements that span about 7 weeks or more, so about a T+35 trading period. Anything under those 7 weeks will be unhelpful because that timeline will be influenced by the dynamic nature of news delivery, meaning that the days on the fractal will not match with the estimated present and future dates because those future dates will react to day-to-day news, which is the main primary mover of random price movements. And also for anyone who is doing fractals, my question is, what is your prime fractal? What does the repeating fractal look like? Like, what is the big overarching like shape of that fractal? Because if you don't know the answer for that, then how can you know what the fractal is being replicated without asking what the original fractal looks like? I want to show you guys what my version of prime fractal looks like. Well, basically, I think it looks something like this, where you have one big movement and then a second movement within that bigger movement, and then third movement, and then a fourth movement that goes above this this trend line just for a little bit, but then it comes back down again. And then the fifth time that we hit this trend line, this overarching one, the fifth one is the one where we finally go boomies. And then this is what the price looked like from this is January of 21, then going to May of 2024. So basically, more or less, this is what that fractal looks like. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then up, and then 5. So if we see this trend line right here, I mean, this one touched a lot more, but one of these is 2. I guess one of these is 3. And then this one went above the trend line and then comes back down and then boom. Obviously, this is not the overarching one because I think the big fractal is from about 2021 going until probably like 2030 or some shit like that. This one only goes halfway to about 2024. Actually, probably that's only like third of the way. Yeah, but that's what my prime fractal looks like. All right, well, let me get to the chat real quick. Good to see you. You aren't that important. Yeah, we have a lot of huge catalysts, but I think we're about to hit the dog days of summer. Miles MOASS, welcome, my man. Thank you for joining. And Rev, yeah. Limp flag. Oh man. Yeah. Oh. So I'm gonna share with you guys what I thought was going to happen if today had been a really green day. Only because I think it's helpful because I've seen a lot of these flag days on the emoji timeline where it worked out. Um, so I have two examples that I want to show you: scenario A and then scenario B. Basically, what happens tomorrow will more or less indicate to me what the likely peak of this first initial movement is. Basically, this T plus 35 timeline, it finishes on June 22nd, so a week from now. But then after that, going in from the 23rd until the 2nd, there's going to be a different movement happening. But I'll get to that in a little bit. But basically, tomorrow, 6/16, basically, if it keeps on going up throughout the entire day, then the peak will be Wednesday, 6/17. Either basically in pre-market / open of that day. That's scenario A. That's what I think will likely happen. Is tomorrow is going to be like up, and then if that happens, if scenario A happens, then 6/17 to 6/22. After it peaks on 6/17, the rest of the day will be down and sideways, and then 6/22 will be down / red. And then basically scenario A, that's what happened on March 9th and 10th of this past year, of this previous cycle that finished, the one that started from Ryan Cohen's buys. I was not expecting that to happen that way. So now that we have it on the books as it's the possibility, and then the possible patterns that could come from that, that is my scenario A. If tomorrow is a green day, then the peak will be Wednesday. That's scenario A. Scenario B is if tomorrow is down. If tomorrow closes red, no matter like what time of day it peaks at, as long as it closes red, then this is scenario B. Basically, what I would imagine happening is that the peak will be next week, next Monday, on 6/22, which would be the bigger of the peaks from what I've seen. We want scenario B to happen. If tomorrow's a red day, then I'm confident that next Monday will be the peak. Because if you see here, this is from the May 2025, which had the peak going all the way to, what was it, 35 and 37 for intramarket and pre-market respectively. This was what tomorrow would look like if it goes down. So you see that up until about noon, it was pretty much a green day, and then it didn't go red until the end of the day. So as long, like, we have to look at where the end of the day closes for us to understand where we are or which scenario will take place. So if tomorrow's red, then 6/22 will be the peak. And I want tomorrow to be red so that 6/22 can be the peak, because I think 6/22 being the peak would be the biggest of the peaks. And then basically if that happens, then going right afterwards, we get into the D-Legend movement for the convertible note number 2. The last time we got this was in that middle of April movement where it just surprised all of us. If we get a peak at 6/22 for the T35 emoji timeline, going right into the D-Legend movement, that would be very preferable in my opinion. So again, I would love for tomorrow to be red. Because if it's not red, then I think we'll have an early end to this movement. The peak will be Wednesday. And then next days, going into next Monday, will be sideways in red. And then it isn't until the 23rd on Tuesday that we will start the D-Legend movement. I know that's really confusing, but yeah. Scenario B would be the better option, but right now it feels like scenario A is the likeliest. So Wednesday will probably be the peak. Just from what I feel like now, that seems likeliest. But again, it all depends on where we close tomorrow. And then also in terms of price, obviously I'm not very good at price. I haven't been, and I am very willing to admit that. My price predictions are not my strong suit. But I do feel it's important to talk about there's just a huge fucking price wall, a big call wall at 25 for the next couple of weeks. All of these different options expirations. So I think it'll be difficult to break through that. So if I had to guess, I think the peak will likely be 25 and under for this next movement before we get into the dog days of summer downies. Yeah. But regardless of whether we're in scenario A or B, I do believe that 622, the end of this cycle, will be red. Yeah. So just keep that in mind. 622 is probably going to be red. And at some point in my bigger video, my squeezes video, the one that I started working on and will hopefully get it to you guys by the end of the summer. Basically, the Missy Elliott emoji timeline, I've broken it up into phase 1 through 5. And so there's very distinct phases that happen within these movements. It doesn't necessarily say what the peak is going to be because we remember that we have to look at the reset buttons and whatnot, because the beginning of this movement, the 5-1 and 5-4, those were the peaks of this movement that's happening right now. So what the Missy Elliott emoji timeline does, again, is just give us when high pressure is likely to happen and then when negative pressure is likely to happen. So it can't give us prices. At least I haven't been able to find that yet. And then for the Tetris, for Ryan Cohen's profile picture, this was made on November 19th. And for following the weeks countdown, that was those things really did hit. Yeah, I was very happy with that, especially because like the ending sequence right here, that's when he started doing a lot of stuff within these last couple of weeks. So if my month's prediction is correct for that, then 6/19 this Friday will be the opening period for some new news to occur based off of the Tetris timeline. We'll see. Obviously, when we were doing the weeks timeline, we didn't understand this until we got the M&A stuff in May. So while there was the actual behind the scenes actions happening, we didn't find out about it until like 3 months later. So that's just something to keep in mind. Things could start happening this Friday, but we might not find out about it until like 3 months from now. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. And another thing to bring up, the second half of May, the FTDs came out today. So the first half of May, that's a lot. That's a lot right there. That's some nice pushes. Those T35s are happening this week. So that's why I'm surprised that there wasn't more action happening. And I'm curious to understand why we haven't gotten as much like uppies as I thought. But then going into the second half of May, not a lot there. Not a lot there. So basically this tells us that in terms of FTD obligations, there's not going to be a lot of action happening that we can look forward to going into the end of June and early July. So not a lot there. So we do have the D-Legend stuff to look forward to, which I'll get into next. But FTD's not that much. But XRT though, yeah, XRT looks really nice. Obviously GME is only a small portion of it, and I only pay attention to XRT a little bit, not enough to talk about it, but I do think that this is worth putting on here like this. And obviously you guys can go back and rewatch this if you wanted to get a closer look. Yeah, but moving into the D-Legend for the convertible note number 2. Actually, I have a chart that I think I forgot to put. Let me see if I can find it easily. Hopefully. I don't know where it is right now. Sorry. I don't know where it is. I'm going to look one other place, and if it's not there, then I guess you guys won't get that chart. Is this it? Yeah, this will probably work. Oh no. All right. So basically, from the end of June or the end of March, going into mid-April, the arbitrage desks that were trading and holding the convertible note bonds, the first one from last year, the one from April, or the end of March, they were more or less, from my understanding of it, repositioning. And so when that happens, there's a pump of some sort. Now, what I want to say is that just because it happened one time already, it doesn't necessarily mean that this coming one for the June 2025 convertible note number 2, I'm not sure if it necessarily means that there's going to be another pump exactly like it. This arch and this peak, I basically put it out to here. Yeah, because I made this, I guess, over the weekend or something like that. But basically, if I'm correct, we'll be peaking right around the annual meeting at about 25. That would be my best guess right now. Obviously, I'm terrible with prices, so take it with a grain of salt. But I have a feeling we'll peak right around the annual meeting, and then it'll dump down. And this pump right here will be because of the D-Legend movement. One thing to keep in mind is that the convertible note number 2 was much larger than convertible note number 1. Let me pull up some of that data from my notes real quick. Yeah, so bond 1 was 1.3 billion, and then bond 2 was 2.25 billion. So almost double. What does this mean for the price? I don't know. Because it's only happened one time before, it's not enough of a pattern for me to basically say, oh yeah, it's definitely going to happen. I don't know. But if there is a pattern, then it will go up, and we'll find out this time. Because also, when we think about what happened last year with the convertible note offerings, there was a similar price movement for both of those, where immediately after the announcement happened, the price dunked to as low as we've seen it, like all the way down to the bottoms, basically like the cash floor. And then from there, traded sideways for a little bit / moved up. And so I don't know. I don't know. But whatever, I think the annual, like whatever happens with the D-Legend stuff, I do think that after the annual meeting, shortly after, we are going to start dumping. We're going to start going into the dog days of summer. So yeah, once like after the annual meeting, I am not planning on holding any long calls at all. I'm probably going to be selling some covered calls. I mean, I still have one of my covered calls from for 7/17 or whatever that Friday is. I forget. Is it 7/17? Yeah, 7/17. And then I'll decide what to do from that once we're closer to expiration. But basically, what I foresee happening for the dog days of summer. Oh, actually, so the dog days of summer are from July 3rd to August 11th. I have seen historically this seems to be a slump time for the stock. Like I said, with the annual Boomie cycle, August seems to be like March, where it's just sucking down the volatility. And like volatility just comes to a crawl. I would not be surprised if, like April, which had the 7-year lows on the IV, I wouldn't be surprised if August breaks to a even lower low for the IV, which would make it, yeah, again, like a 7-year low or something like that. But regardless, I do think the low is going to be just about 18, especially with some of the tinfoil that we got yesterday from the GameStop account. But me personally, I am not waiting for 18 to start buying. I have been buying a lot these past couple of weeks because these prices are just too good to pass up. I have bought at 21.65. I have bought at 21. I'm going to buy more at 20. And then once we get into the 18-19 region, which I expect will be at the end of August, once we're there, I'm going to go heavy, into shares. And then I'm also going to buy the furthest out calls that we can get, the 20 calls for December 2028, near what I expect to be the bottom at August, September. So again, I'm not waiting for the price to happen. I'm waiting for a specific time to happen. I'm waiting for the end of August. That's what I'm waiting for. Because the price might not be correct. We might not go to 18. And we'll get into the Lego chart in a little bit to explain where the price could be at the next bottom. Because basically, yeah, let's get into it now. And then we'll get into this a little bit. But basically, here's the Lego chart. So I'm calling this January 2021, and then this second one, May 2024. Obviously, between the two of them is a little swished together, but I do think that this is helpful regardless. So basically what we're looking for now is pump number 3. So if you see here, after pump 2 happened, it comes down to a low, which right now that low was at let me turn all these off. Which when it returned that low was 1770. High 80 and then 1770. This low we haven't hit again since then. And if you see here, when it returned to this low right here, that low, the when it finally launches from that wedge, that seems to be higher than here to that return point. So that makes me think that 1770 is like the absolute bottom that it can get. I don't think it'll get to 1770. I think 1770 is too low. And so 18 seems more reasonable. And then last night, GameStop, they posted this. GameStop looked me right in my face and told me my PS3 was worth $18. This was a post from December 2017. So almost a full decade from now. Or a decade before now. So they posted it at 6:53, which, I mean, the timestamp, there's a lot of interpretations. But for me, 6 equals June, and then 53 equals 53 days. Now the question is, trading days or calendar days? Calendar days plus 53, that would equal July 24th. And then trading days plus 53, which would be August 17th. I like the trading days one because August 17th, that aligns with my expectation for where the bottom will be. And I have said for a long time now that we have to hit 18 or 17. But now seeing my updated Lego chart, yeah, this wedge needs to be higher than this. So I think 18 or 19 is more reasonable for what the next bottom will be. Yeah. So boom. So I'm thinking that magnet for pulling down, that's going to be in late August or Labor Day. That's my guess. I also want to say that there's been a lot of things that I've gotten wrong over these past years, but also a lot of things that I've gotten right over these past years, especially when it comes to my understanding of the rhythm of like, oh, when are we going to get big pressure? When are we going to get small pressure? When are we going to get negative pressure? Or when are we going to be sideways and down? I've been, for the most part, pretty accurate about that stuff. And so, I don't know, it just really annoys me when there are a lot of people who come onto my stuff and they say, oh, you're always wrong all the time. And I'm like, I'm wrong a lot and I'm also right a lot. So it's like, you're just not paying attention and then you're trying to dog me for whatever reason. And I just block those people right away. I don't understand what kind of satisfaction they get from, like, I don't know, making fun of me, I guess. But I'm going to keep trying regardless because I'm getting better at it every time. Obviously, we're not perfect yet. And even today, I mean, what did we close at? 74? Yeah, we closed at 74. Which, I mean, it's 3 cents in the red. I don't know what that means for tomorrow. I don't know what that means. Yeah. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. Oh, but yeah, once we do hit that under 20 mark, I have a feeling that's when the buybacks, the share repurchases will begin. And I'll talk about that in a little bit once we get to the earnings. But yeah, whenever we hit this summer, the dog days of summer are over, that's when the buybacks are going to start happening. And then when the buybacks start happening, that's basically your last chance to fucking load up the boat. Because in my opinion, again, the buybacks are going to happen here at the end of this fractal. They're going to happen here at point number 5. Because if we look at what happened in right here, buybacks, and then also Ryan Cohen buys. Yeah, there's a lot of buying that happened, which forced the 2021 sneeze to happen the way it did. Oh yeah, but then this is basically the rest of 2026, what I foresee happening. basically a small up-ease going into the annual meeting on 7/7, and then dog days of summer all the way down to 18 something. And then from there, basically we're going to be like down slash sideways going into September earnings, and then September earnings, that should be like, all right, shortly after we'll see green again. And then for whatever reason, 2239 seems to be a really big point of control. Yeah. And then boomies. I think definitely, oh wait, we'll get into that definitely a little bit. But for a while now, I've been saying 55 in December of 2026. I posted this January 29th, literally like a couple days after Ryan Cohen bought his million shares. Yeah, this was my prediction from the end of January. Boom. Yeah, because I wasn't sure exactly how this was going to go, but I had a good feeling. 55 in December, or at least like this autumn slash winter. But there was a big sign going, like researching into 2024 May specifically, and what were the events leading up to that and how it happened. Um, in my opinion, uh, what I saw was a huge indicator show up on the FTDs in December. Basically, about 5 months before, there were multiple days of 1 million plus notionals of FTDs that were created. And this is like all of the yellow is 1 million plus. And then some of them are multiple millions, except for this area right here. This was not a million plus, but it was still a lot of days in a row where it was worth highlighting. But basically, this created a ticking time bomb where then about 5 minutes or 5 months later, which is about T plus 105 slash C 147, this is all about that 5 month period. So right about that, like lagging time bomb, we got May of 2024. What I saw this May was very similar, very similar. I'm just gonna copy this just to show you guys next to each other. Oh, that's not helpful. Can I put these two next to each other? No. Oh, I guess I have to make it a little bit smaller. All right. Now it's really tiny though. Oops. Oh, here we go. Cool. You can compare these on your own, but this seems pretty spicy. Pretty spicy for later on. Yeah. But basically, this May, if we add a 5 to 6 month delay, approximately C147, T105, that basically puts us at a big boomie happening at around October, November. And now, when do the warrants expire? October 30th. So theoretically, as we should have some sort of catalytic event that shoots us above 32 by that time, like well above 32, making it very advantageous for us to exercise those options at 32, or exercise those warrants at 32. And then once we hit that bottom, there will be an explosion. So me personally, that's why I really want 1819 to happen, because then that means it's fucking go time. Kind of like the way April 2024 hit $10. We need that double bottom, because again, double bottom. This is February of 21, basically $10. Coming back April of 24, double bottom. This one was pretty even though. And then also, if you look at the emoji timeline, yeah, yeah. But then for the second one, again, this is lower than what this will be. It makes sense that we're wedging up. Yeah. So okay, cool. And then let's move into the M&A timeline. This was already the stuff that was completed. And then this is the stuff that I'm still waiting on. But basically, I've been guesstimating for a while that GME is going to own at least 10% of beneficial ownership of eBay. And then after this coming, so eBay has their annual vote coming up, I think this Wednesday, 7/17. And then basically we're going to find out about that 10% rule or whatever. Other people have talked about it better than I have. You can find them. But we're going to vote on that. And then basically once GME hits, or once Ryan Cohen finally hits his percentage goal, whatever he's trying to get to, obviously the next thing would be to formally request the eBay shareholder vote to approve the buyout proposal. I imagine that there's going to be a different proposal that's on the board, not necessarily 50-50, 50% cash, 50% stock. I think the next proposal is probably going to be more cash than stock, personally. Yeah. But then also coming up, we're looking for the convertible note number 2 delegending. Obviously 7/7 is the annual meeting, the proxy vote. We're going to be voting on Ryan Cohen's award package, and then the authorized share account increase from 1 billion to 2.5 billion. I have already voted for all of my shares that I could. I trust Ryan. I don't see a reason to not trust him right now. Yeah, 7/16. Oh wait, wasn't this 6? Isn't this 6/15? Oh yeah. Put that in the wrong part. And then after 7/17, I'm expecting some sort of event to the downside. Basically something like GME could sell traditional bonds to get more cash, or sell more convertible bonds. Something along the lines of them getting more cash on their books. And then that's going to dunk the price and then bring us into that dog days of summer, that sideways and down action, because Ryan Cohen knows that downwards and sideways action is going to happen no matter what. So like last summer, that's what he did. He did a convertible note offering, he raised cash, and then we were sideways and down for the rest of the summer. We're probably going to do a similar thing again this time. And then at some point, obviously, they're going to request the shareholder vote, and then that's going to get approved. Yeah, something to keep in mind, 92% of eBay is owned by institutions, and then a high percent of those institutions also own GME. Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's going to pass once it goes through a shareholder vote. But I think the deal is going to be even more enticing, probably more cash than the 50%, 50%. And then whenever that eBay sale is approved, I'm expecting that to happen probably around like July or August or something like that. Basically, we're going to get the GM eBay share ratio record date, basically the date that says, all right, this is going to be the record date where we're going to count everybody who has shares of GME, everybody who has shares of eBay. You're going to be the ones that get to like trade them moving forward. You're going to be the ones that get like the good stuff that comes with the packages. Basically for eBay, you're going to be the ones that get the cash from the deal, and then however many shares of the new GM eBay, and then eBay, or then GME owners will basically just. I think everything's going to stay the same for us. I think 1 share of our thing is going to continue to be 1 share. But yeah, we'll see. And then basically once the sale is approved, GME will exercise those options. And then also our executive board will take a look into the eBay financials. They'll take a look into the books, the accounting and everything, make sure that everything's good and not illegal and whatnot. And then they'll finalize the buyout. Basically, I'm expecting that in like August, September for the finalize. And then basically GameStop officially acquires eBay, and then eBay on a certain date will stop trading altogether, and then the new GM eBay, whatever they end up calling it, probably still GameStop, that'll begin trading. And then obviously something to keep in mind is that the GME market cap will go from 10 billion to at least 49 billion on the first day of combined trading. So if my calculations are correct, at 808 million shares of GM eBay, which, I mean, this is like napkin math, then I'm thinking at least a share price of $60 for the new GM eBay. That would be on the first day of trading for GM eBay. But this is a lot of speculation. So this is really just throwing a number out there. Who knows? And then also September, this is probably, especially if the eBay sale gets approved, this is going to be probably the earnings report where Ryan Cohen gets awarded his tranche 1, which would be 20% or 10% of the award. But then it's 20 billion market cap and then 2 billion EBITDA. And then either September or October will be the Teddy unveil, or maybe Thanksgiving. Possibly Teddy's probably closer to Thanksgiving, but I'd like to think that Teddy will be involved with the catalyst that pumps us into that October pump, whatever it is. And then October, the warrants expire. We get 1.9 billion in cash added from those sales. And then by then, we should be above 32 for sure. Yeah. I don't think Ryan Cohen's a doofus. Oh, and then this was a response that I had to Jake on one of his posts a while back from February 1st. This is just to show you guys that I have had this exact timeline, what is happening now and what has happened over these past couple of months. I have not changed my timeline. I want to share this with you again. I think he's raising more cash. And remember, this was posted on early February. Only a couple of days after he bought that 1 million shares and then told us about the M&A. I said, I think he's raising more cash and this current news parade to gather more hype around the stock and get us more competitive pricing. Yeah, I think Convertible 3 will be for M&A. It might not be Convertible 3. It might just be traditional bonds. I think that was what Jake was saying. And hearing him explain it, I think that makes more sense for it to be traditional bonds. And then obviously the compensation package vote, that'll come during the July annual meeting. That vote basically closes out the night before on July 6th, I believe. Yeah. And then I do feel like M&A news will come in stages, and something big will be in May, but it won't be the Teddy unveil. Correct. I agree that June's annual meeting will be like a final huddle, one last moment to get the ducks in order before the plan goes into overdrive. June is also the first earnings that will be counted towards the cumulative EBITDA count for this award. Obviously, this was July instead, but I was correct in that big M&A news did happen in May, and it was not Teddy. Something tells me that Teddy will come after June. I am now looking at October, November, possibly September, but October, November looks more accurate. Yeah, something needs to happen before the warrants expire in October. Yeah, I've been saying that. And then after September earnings could be the moment where all the pieces are finally lining up, the dominoes ready to be pushed, and with the extra 1.9 billion from warrant exercise, that could help us with the final M&A to complete the Grandmaster scheme. 741 in December. I don't know. But that was my timeline. Yeah. But basically, I think for Teddy to be unveiled, I think RC needs eBay. And so I think by this Thanksgiving, that could be the Thanksgiving where we finally get Teddy. I don't think I said last year would be a Teddy Thanksgiving. Although I was surprised that last Thanksgiving was very red. But I don't know if I said Teddy was last Thanksgiving. But I have said it's probably this Thanksgiving, every Thanksgiving before. So take it with a grain of salt. I've been very wrong about my Thanksgiving Teddy because we keep guessing it that year, and it's obviously not that year. But I do think there's a good argument to be made that it could be this year, and that argument basically is the warrants expiration. Why would he do that if something big isn't going to happen? I think something will. And then also another big thing, he called Project Sling, like the eBay project, because it is the slingshot rock that David used to defeat Goliath in their biblical battle. eBay is the slingshot rock. Yeah. So I think he needs eBay in order to unveil Teddy, in order to unveil the greater plan. Let me check up on the chat real quick before we move on. Jacqueline, nice to see you. Always love your input. I appreciate your thoughts and theories as well. Yes, thank you. Bonji Benzai, good to see you too, my dude. Good to see you. So Jacqueline says, when the bonds trade, the hedges should come off, so we should see more volatility, hopefully up like last time. So yeah, the hedges do come off, but then somebody else buys the bonds, don't they? So then they also have to hedge to a certain degree as well. It's a very interesting like movement that happens. Yeah. You aren't that important. Yeah, the buybacks are also my bad signal as well. Like once we get, like, that's a green light. If we see GameStop buying back, holy shit, that is going to set off another chain reaction, dude. So yeah, that's definitely a buy indicator. Man, oh man. Asian Power 86, yeah, napkin math, approximately 60% per share after eBay stops trading and GM eBay starts trading as a combined company. That's my guess. Obviously, there's a lot of numbers that we still need to put into the calculation that we haven't got yet, but as of right now, that's what I'm guesstimating. Jacqueline, I did look at the Tesla package for Elon. Somebody posted on a Super Stonk a while back, and from my research that I did into that, basically that came with the Dev 14A when that was announced. Like that movement followed that, and when we pushed our Dev 14A, nothing happened. And so I'm not sure how much it's tracking the Tesla one, but from what I found, it did not follow as well as I would have liked. Prakish, if I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, but the warrants, no matter what, they're going to expire on October 30th. So you either have to exercise it or you have to sell it. Because if you don't do either of those, they're just going to expire worthless. I think the only reason Ryan Cohen would extend it is, well, if he does, I think it would be last moment. It would be once we're already well in the money, like above 32, and then he basically just wants to tell like the shorts to go fuck themselves, because by giving us a longer timeline to um, exercise those warrants, it basically just fucks over shorts in some way, shape, or form. I don't know exactly how that movement will happen, but yeah, it'll definitely screw them over. Do I think GME owns any BBBY? Do you think they bought in on the SpaceX IPO? No. I think the only other company that they own is eBay in terms of like investment opportunities. I'm pretty sure that he's all, um, what is it? What's that called? I forget what the fucking phrase is. He's full steam ahead. He's full steam ahead on eBay. Um, Asian Power between 60% or $60. I think it might be both. I think it might be 60% eBay to 40% GameStop. And then $60 would be the combined trading price on opening day. That'd be my guess. Let me check to make sure no one else is chatting. Cool. Cool. Caught up. Um, I mean, there was a lot of stuff that happened on uh, the first quarter earnings. Obviously, it was a great fucking quarter. We were extremely profitable. It was a surprise beat on both fronts. Um, Obviously, I am not the expert opinion for that type of stuff. There's other people who are smarter than me who have commented already on it. So I'll let you have that. But yeah, it was a great earnings. Great job, Ryan. Yeah, and team. And then obviously they told us that they made a $2 billion share repurchase plan. Um, let's look into what the previous ones looked like. Yeah, so the old one was from March of 2024, right before the April and May pumps. It was updated to 300 million total approved for buybacks, and he didn't use that at all. But that was the former one. And then right now, June 2nd, discretionary 2 billions. 2 billions. That's a lot of cheddar. That's a lot of cheddar. But yeah, I think that those buybacks will probably start towards this next bottom of the Lego chart, which, if I'm correct, will be in August or September, and probably will be at $18 or $19, but definitely under 20. Definitely under 20. But regardless, I'm still buying at 20 because I think it's a fucking steal. If Ryan Cohen can buy at 21.35, I can buy at 20. I'm also buying at 21. I also bought it all over the place. I've been buying a lot these last month. Yeah. But then the shares authorized. Before, we were authorized for 1 billion shares. And obviously right now, I think we're about at, what's our TSO? 448 million? Is that correct? Yeah, we're about 448 million on authorized shares, or on the total shares outstanding. For what's about to happen with all the M&A stuff and the trading and the share, like trading back and forth and stuff like that. And then also with the squeeze coming up, having 2.5 billion shares authorized is going to be a very good thing, because we also still have a good amount of dough left over on the shelf offering. I need to go. Where's the ATM info? Where are you? Here we go. Hmm. I forget what the current, how much they're allowed to sell in those shelf offerings. Hmm. Does anybody remember how much they're allowed to sell? Hmm. Oh well, we'll get to that later. That'll be for a future one, I guess. But then, his compensation award package, that vote is coming up. I voted for. I've spoken extensively on what it means for the greater picture of everything, because again, when it comes to dilution from the M&A, the thing that we're not going to have to be worried about is the price of the stock after dilution, because we're still engulfing a fucking $50 billion company under our wing, adding to it. So the dilution in terms of like the price of the stock, we're gonna be one GME will be worth more than it is now after the M&A goes through. The thing that we need to be worried about though is that our power, our voting power within the new company is going to be significantly diminished. And so to have Ryan Cohen basically be our spokesperson, our representative for the GME legacy shareholders in this new company, I think that that's going to be integral so that we don't lose control of what's going on and how it'll happen. And also, Ryan Cohen won't be able to lose control of the company. And so it's imperative, in my opinion, that we vote for his compensation package. An argument can be made, okay, yeah, we're giving more power into his hands, consolidating more power into one dude, but he's the dude. He's the guy that is leading this fucking train. So, for better or worse, we gotta trust him. Yeah. And I'm choosing to right now. But yeah, those are the big stuff with that. There wasn't really much more. I had some future topics, but we'll go into that later. One of the big future topics is what is MOASS? How do you define MOASS? I went into this a little bit in a previous stream, but I'll go into it more depth in the next one. But yeah, I didn't want to make this stream too long because I'll be honest, I'm lazy. uh, and I was hoping to be more hyped today from the bull flag that did not happen. So we'll have to see how tomorrow goes. My prediction from earlier today, I don't know if it'll hold, only because today should have been more green than it was. And because it stopped following the emoji timeline pattern, I'm kind of like at a weird iffy place with it. So I have to like grab onto the train again somehow. But I don't know if you guys had any questions or anything like that. But I wanted to just thank you for showing up. And for those of you who are deciding to watch this later on, thank you for viewing. Um, as always, thank you again for the support that you guys have given me over these last many years. I mean, it's over half a decade now. That's crazy. Um, I very much am humbled and appreciative of the love and good graces that you guys have given to me. So thank you very much. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much what I foresee for the summer coming up. I'm sorry that I didn't have more exciting news. Um, how will the 2 billion share dilution affect your napkin math? It would all depend. I don't think that he's going to sell up to 2 billion shares right away. Because right now, again, we're only at 448. So basically, we'd have to get to, or 448 million. To get to 2 billion, remember, that's 2,000. That's 2,000 million. So that is 5 times the total shares outstanding that we have right now. I think that 2 billion is not going to be an immediate thing. I think that's supposed to last us a couple of years, just like the previous one was. The previous one came, what was it? 2024? I think the last shelf offering was either 2024 or 2023. I'll have to look it up again for you guys. Yeah, I'll have to revisit that later. But that 2 billion share dilution, it's not going to be an immediate thing, and it's definitely not going to be all at once. And I don't think that I don't think he's actually going to hit 2 billion for a long time. He'll probably get to like 1.2 billion or 1.5 billion over the next couple of years, and then he'll probably renew into a different share dilution plan, a different authorized shares plan. Yeah, so you can't really calculate that in napkin math because it all depends on when he decides to do it and how much of it he decides to do. Yeah. So I don't know. But in my $60 GM eBay calculation, that did include already an estimated dilution that GME would have to have in order to give shares to the eBay holders at 60/40, which was my guesstimate. Yeah. But to reiterate, where's the Lego chart? Yeah. To reiterate, I think this is what's happening right now. And this winter will be this. That's what I think. I've been saying this more or less since December/January, and everything I've seen so far this year is still tracking more or less to what I was saying. It hasn't been perfect, but it's been very helpful, at least for me, and I hope it's been helpful to you. Yeah, so I don't know if you guys have any other questions, but again, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you all. Sending you guys and your families all my love. Um, and yeah, let me get to one last comment. You aren't that important. Grateful for you guys like you and Richard Newton, guys on Superstar. I'm tired and poor. Between now and October, should see some fireworks. Holding on hope. God bless peeps. Yeah, yeah. I'm also in the same boat. I'm hoping that this winter is finally the moment that we've been fucking waiting for. So yeah. The warrants, so before the warrants expire in October, we should already be above 32. And then whatever that movement is will keep on going up. So basically this bottom right here, this little part, that's like September. And then this top part will be like December slash January 7th or something like that. I hope that makes sense. Yeah. So fall going into winter. That's what I think will happen. But something also to keep in mind between this and this was literally like a 3 week period from like April 24th to May 14th. That was only like 3 weeks. So this big bump right here might only be a 3 week period. So if our bottom is indeed like October, then that top might be November. Something to keep in mind. Something to keep in mind. We'll have to play it by ear once we get there. We'll have to see. Yeah. But right at this bottom is also when I would expect Roaring Kitty to come back into the picture. I've said for a while now, I think 9-1 is really important for a Roaring Kitty sighting. But then throwing out something in there, something I just remembered. For a while, he had it his pinned tweet. Which basically was a hyperlink to this video, the big short squeeze from $5 to $50. And this was from August 21st of 2020 before it finally happened. And he had this pinned as his tweet for a very long time. I forget when he finally stopped pinning it. I think it was sometime last year or the year before. Oh man, I wish I had written down that information. But that's why I think August is also like fucking Boomie time. Yeah. Yeah, and cheers, GME Merlins. Yeah. Thank you for joining. Vladdy, when do you believe we will buy eBay? I think the final, like everything, I have a feeling September or October will be when the combined company will start trading. And I believe that July or August will probably be the approval of the sale. And then there will be like a 6 to 9 month or 6 to 9 week period afterwards where they're going to go through like the books and make sure everything's kosher. Yeah. Absurd person, what are your thoughts on RK unfollowing RC? My copium is to tell myself he was coerced to by the powers that be. At this point, I don't think Ryan and Roaring Kitty have talked. And I don't think Roaring Kitty has talked with anybody that is like a big player in any of this stuff. Not since the last time we saw him talk to or send an email to Michael Burry. I think one thing I've noticed about Roaring Kitty is that he plays it very safe. He's very guarded. And I think for his own safety and the safety of his family, I believe that he has chosen not to communicate in any way with them. As for specifically why he unfollowed Ryan, I don't know, bro. All I know is that his follower count is at 91 or 91. So September 1st, I don't know. That'd be my guess. But no idea why he would specifically unfollow RC and not somebody else. Yeah. Libertine, how you doing? I hope you're doing well as well. Thank you for joining. But for real now, if there's no other questions, I think that was all I wanted to get out. I wanted this to be as concise of a stream as possible. Yeah. But that's my understanding of everything that's about to happen. Our stream was about an hour 20 something, an hour 30 something. Which is not bad. For everybody that's tuning in later, have fun. Thank you. Everybody tuning in today, thank you again. All right, I think that's it. Take care, everybody. Much love. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Yeah, maybe at the end of August. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I'll be on Twitter. All right, thank you again, everybody, and have a good one.